Welcome to Give a Shift, the podcast you want to be listening to when you want positive, radical change in your life.
Woohoo!
Welcome. We are at episode 5. And for those that haven't joined us yet, no, episode 5.
I know.
If you haven't joined us yet, I'm Nancy Leeds Gribble and my co-host.
I'm Alicia Ziegler.
Yes, and we are super excited today because this is our first guest. And I'm going to let Alicia.
First guest, yes, and it's a dear friend of mine. We have an incredible story. She's an intuitive life guide. She is becoming famous for connecting strangers and turning them into friends. She is a synchronicity queen, and she has a radical story that I believe is the epitome of Give a Shift. And I'm so excited to welcome today to the show, Carlyn Shaw.
Yay!
Thank you.
Hi,
thank you, ladies.
friend.
I love that I'm the first guest. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, I couldn't think of a more perfect person to kick off guest speaking than you with the story that you've got that I'm so excited for you to be able to share with everyone.
Thank you.
So, Nancy, any questions before we
with that, I think it would be great just to tell us a little bit about your story. You have a very powerful story and how it started for you and a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you a little bit about myself just so your listeners have an idea. I am 45 years old. I live in St. Petersburg, Florida. This is state number 9. I'm always asked what was my favorite. And I always say they were all my favorite while I was there because I wasn't looking for the next. I was where I was. And then the next opportunity called me and I went. So that kind of is that's how I've always lived my life, is just following my heart.
Nice.
So a little bit how I got here today is my journey. I always say my hero's journey. We all have a hero's journey. We all have a moment. And if you haven't had it yet, it's coming. But we all have something that brought us to our knees and ripped the veil off and woke us up before we realized we needed to be woken. And I was 19 years old. It was 1997. So this was before Google and before you could look for anybody else out there like you. And I woke up one day and I couldn't feel the water hitting my arm in the shower. And I had no idea what this would be. I called and then it became the whole left side of my body. And all these things started going haywire. And I called my mom, like, Mom, you ever slept so hard your whole body falls asleep? She's like, I don't think so. So this led to the MRI and the spinal tap. And I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis and I was a sophomore in college. And so you can imagine, like, my family knew nothing about this. And it was all of a sudden you're just thrown into a label.
Yeah.
And so while I'm sitting here trying to accept this and understand it, the following month, I get a phone call from my best friend that our other best friend had been killed in a car accident. And so, so like you've got the MS, which is this disease that you have to accept, but there has this like unknown uncertainty with it. But then when you're given death, as you know, it's this finality and it's a whole different acceptance, especially when you're 19 and it's your best friend.
Yeah.
So what ended up happening was more tragedy, so to say. And 9 months later, the same friend who called me to tell me Meredith died, she died. So I ended up burying both of my best friends literally next to each other in the same year. And it was the same year that I was diagnosed. I know I get chills. I've told the story.
I literally just got chills myself. Holy cow.
Yeah. And there's I'm you obviously, ladies, I'm glossing over a lot because that the stories of their deaths and how much they mirrored each other could be a whole podcast in itself. So anyways, back then MS was a death sentence. We knew nothing about it.
We're good.
There you go.
Oh, okay. So back then MS was a death sentence. We really knew nothing. That's what they said. And but for me, I never really like latched onto that. And aside from the fact that I went to the website and I saw that not everybody is going to end up down that path. I also recognized, wow, I had all these symptoms and they gave me medication and they went away. Maybe they'll stay away. But more importantly, I knew what a death sentence was. I had just buried my friends. I was alive and I could live for me and I could live for all of us. And so the epiphany really came because again, there was no one for me to turn to. And my parents didn't really know how to help because they weren't even equipped with how to handle this situation for me. And I realized I had to change my environment. I was doing really horribly in school. I was depressed, all the things that naturally come with this. And I'd learned about studying overseas and it had never crossed my mind before. And I decided I'm going to go after this and see if I can make it happen. And I end up getting approved to go to London. I go to London. I'm all of a sudden, I have this awareness of I get to
Yes.
I literally get to shift things. Yes. And not only that, I get to choose what labels I bring with me. I get to choose how I show up with my story. But this, again, very beginning of all this, but this is where it started. And so the real aha was my birthday week in March. My birthday's March 15th, so it's St. Patrick's Day week. So as every American, I turned 21 that week. Every American wants to go to Ireland for St. Patrick's Day, right? It's just what you do. You go to Dublin. So here's a bucket list thing I'm doing. And all of a sudden I find myself in Dublin on St. Patrick's Day, the week of my birthday. And I'm standing there and it was the day after. And I just get this download. And I'm just overwhelmed with emotion where I realize I wouldn't be here if none of that had happened.
Yeah.
And I get chills again.
I know.
My friend that I was traveling with, I grabbed her and I go, tomorrow, will you hold my hand while I go get a tattoo? Margaret and I always said we get a tattoo and we never did. And I need to remember this moment forever. And so both of their names started with an M, Margaret and Meredith. So I got a 4-leaf clover with the letter M on my back, a little small one. And I just said, they're my permanent good luck charms. They'll go with me wherever I go. And that is what paved the rest of my life, because once you know, you can't unknow.
Right.
So even though this horrendous, tragic incident happened, had you, growing up until then, until 19, been a real go-getter, self-starter, introspective, or was there something about the air being sucked out of your lungs, literally, with all of that, right? It came to you in threes that really was the it's almost like that slow burn.
Yeah,
right?
Good question. I'd say a little bit of both. Okay. I've always not been a go-getter. I've always been curious.
Very good word.
Very curious. I've always been the girl that was voted friendly in school and, welcome the new students. I was the girl that went to summer camp and then went back as a counselor. I was someone that never truly ever fit. I don't want to say fit in, but I grew up in the Bible Belt of America, Greenville, South Carolina, and I'm Jewish and I was born in Boston. So there was always this joke. I'm like the Yankee Jew, but it was like a fun thing. It never bothered me, but there were always labels. And so I always embraced the labels like, oh, well, my bat mitzvah is party of the year. So come on down, So I was always used to, what I wasn't used to was this true pulling myself up by my own bootstraps.
Okay.
My parents said, do you want to go to summer camp? And I jumped on it. When it came to this traveling overseas, I started learning about other people doing it. And I just had never heard of it before.
Okay.
But I have so many more stories where I recognized, and you've said this many times, it's a decision.
Right.
And I think the knowing that it could only, I was assuming, be better than it was, because on top of it, the guy I'd been in love with broke up with me. It was everything, I was like, okay, just get me out of here, And I can say that when I came back, not only was I always say I don't run away, I run towards.
Yeah.
Because there is that running aspect, but there's a difference when you're called to something. Mm-hmm. For me, when I get there, that fear and excitement being the same energy. I think they're oftentimes I get the anxiety of if I don't do this, I'll have more anxiety than if I do this, because I know I'm supposed to do it. I just don't know exactly how it's going to happen. But the idea of not doing it gives me more anxiety sometimes.
No, I totally understand, because I feel like I'm like, we just had this conversation with our reconnect, and I feel like I'm in that exact place. And I said, I'm going through the day with FOMO. Like, I don't know what the download is yet, because it's such an umbrella of things that I'm like walking around like a zombie. So I know how you feel, but you have such a voracious appetite. So I didn't know if it was like things came.
Well, my appetite, I think, has grown over the years. MS is the best thing that ever happened to me, hands down. Because when so fast forward, that was 19 years old. Fast forward to 26 years old. I was living in San Diego now. I woke up to go to work. I was working for a hotel. I had to dress nicely, wear heels. Blah, blah, blah. I woke up to go to work and I couldn't get out of bed because my left leg was paralyzed. And I screamed out to my roommates, y'all are never going to believe this. Come in here. I cannot wiggle my toe. I can't even tell my leg to move. And so all of a sudden it was something brand new. And I'd already at least developed this, oh, no. Like, this is scary, but no.
You don't get to have me.
And I built really strong. I got very involved with the MS Society. I really have always, anytime I've been put in a situation, I've surrounded myself with the community that I know that can support me and understand. I think that is vital in the journey of healing, is to be understood. I always say there's a big difference between sympathy and support, and there's a big difference between empathy and understanding. 100%. And so, and being so young with MS, it was different. It was a whole journey. But when that happened, the next level, and then, medication, I got my strength back, but I took myself to the gym and I sat on that recumbent bike and I put my leg on the pedal and I made my leg move for itself with the other leg, because I started to see some atrophy, and I was like, no. So that set off a whole new awareness for me of, I don't want to sit in a cubicle. Right. I don't want to sit in a cubicle. And I'm pitching to travel planners all day long. And one of my dreams was to live and work in Australia. So when I was 26 years old, a few months after this exacerbation, I was let go from my job, and I had the epiphany, well, I can spend $500 a month on Cobra health insurance, or I can go to the country where I want to experience, and it's universal healthcare, and take that $1,500 and go a lot further with it.
Go girl.
I ended up finding an opportunity, 3-month opportunity to live and work in Australia. My flight, they paid for my flight. I worked with students. I turned 27 living there. And again, I'm like, I wouldn't be here if I hadn't been let go from my job and had the awareness of not being able to walk. So everything, and not only that, I got on that airplane, a whole other story. I left my wallet in the rental car at LAX and didn't realize it until I went to go buy snacks at duty free. I had two options: throw away my dream or get on an airplane without a cent to my name and to go to the other side of the world. I got on the airplane.
Get on the plane.
And there's a whole story about how I made my wallet. My wallet found me 2 weeks later.
That's incredible.
I figured out a way to take money out of my account and found another girl with Bank of America and transferred it to her. I got resourceful. That's part of it, is everything is figure outable.
It is. And that's the thing, right? People forget the resources and how
the resource is
like you're
if somebody lost their wallet, if somebody now was in a situation to get on an airplane and fly to the other side of the world without a wallet, there's a million ways you can fix it. Back then, nothing existed. No social media. I didn't have a cell phone. We weren't traveling we didn't have anything.
No.
So all you had was your inner compass. Not only that, but had I what should I do? Should I get on the airplane? I would have gotten 50% of the people telling me to do it, and 50% of the people telling me not to. And I would have been like, there's a right and a wrong. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden there's a right and a wrong. I could disappoint, I could upset, or there's no right and wrong when it's just you feeling it out of what works for you. You can disappoint yourself, but I mean, I get stuck in this. I'm not saying I'm a pro at this. I'm good at it when it comes to these type of things. I'm not good at it when it's like, what CRM should I use for my website? There's too many out there.
You're the bigger go home version, huh?
When it comes to like these big choices, get on an airplane or not, I have two choices. It's not like I'll just hang out here and maybe switch. I don't know, maybe there was, but anyways, the whole point is I strengthened the muscle in me. I wasn't like this ballsy ass kid. I played with I wasn't a crazy outgoing kid. I wasn't super athletic. I didn't believe my body image issue started when I was 9. You know, like I believe the MS was birthed. I say the happier I got, the healthier I got. I was so incredibly toxic to my body. I listened to your first episode. So like our goal was to be skinny. My goal was to be skinny. And I watched my mom through her journey. And it's just, it's what you kind of grow up in. And so I became this. And I say that like each story I've had, you know, these aren't real teeth.
I was going to say, so were you a runner before? Because I don't
know
that about you.
So the MS, I can't say that the MS made me run, but it is all connected. Okay. So I became a runner more because of punishment than because of purpose.
I know.
In the beginning, it was strictly punishment. We all know that. Right. Then what happened was I had been a smoker. I was a smoker for 15 years, hardcore smoker. And when I started learning about healing the body and energy and my thoughts and everything, the way I was, my relationship with food, cigarettes, all the things, I started taking a step back and going, oh no, I might be playing a bigger part in this than I realize. Yeah. When I was on that trip in Australia, I met a kid from Vancouver who insisted on taking me to a film because he felt he needed to take me to it. And in 2005, he took me to the movie theater to see What the Bleep.
Wow. Ooh.
At the movie theater.
That's awesome.
I was living in flow with a bottle of prednisone in my back pocket, just in case, going, wee, here we go. And I see this movie and I'm like, oh, wow. Okay, quantum physics. I guess I need to jump down that rabbit hole. But anyways, I forget now what I was saying. Running. Oh, so I quit. I said to myself, runners don't smoke. And so it started with my friends double dared me to run a half marathon. And a few beers later, I agreed. And I did this half marathon and I did it January 10th, 2010. And I was so proud of myself. And I'd quit smoking. I started learning about nutrition. I was so proud of myself that in this moment too, I had just switched companies and my insurance changed I was on a monthly infusion at this point for MS. It's called Tysabri. I was getting an IV once a month and I did it for 2.5 years. Now, I was one of the first 10,000 people to go on this medication. So the FDA, everything's regulated. Well, when 2.5 years into it, some people started developing an incurable brain disease called PML. Now they're like, oh, well, instead of 1 MRI a year, we need 2. And now I'm in this all awareness of it all going, wait, are we treating a drug or a disease?
Yeah. Yeah.
And at the same time, because of a new job, my health insurance changed. So what was free now became $3,000 for the first infusion. And I consider the day I let go of my last infusion date as the day I let go of my MS meds. And that was March 18th, 2010. And the next thing I did was look for a half marathon.
Nice.
So my next half marathon was the Rock and Roll Half Marathon in June. And then I ran another one in November. And all of a sudden I was like, because I never had confidence in myself as an athlete. I was never athletic. I was the girl my dad would try and pay me to foul out at a basketball game. I was not aggressive. I'm not like you at all. I was like, so I found something.
That's awesome.
And I found something that was in alignment with every day I already thanked my body. Every day I said, thank you, body, I bless my body. Like any yoga class, I was like, thank you for letting me be here in balance. And I'm always talking to my body and thanking it. And this just took it to a whole new level. And then I could run for those who can't. And then I didn't mean to become an inspiration, but I started becoming an inspiration. And this journey is what led me to become a Boston Marathon, New York Marathon finisher, because that became my dream. When those bombs went off, I said, you messed with the wrong city.
Right.
Because I was born in Boston. And so that's became the journey. Like I think that's what happens to all of us. Like we have absolutely no idea where a situation is going to take us.
Mm-hmm.
And I truly believe it's better than we could have planned when we allow it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
It's not easy.
Yeah. So I'm going to jump back to a little bit for some things that you said. First, your story is amazing. And I know, like you said, it's glossing over, but we get the picture. And
he's going to release the book in 2024.
It's just, but
I am going to release the book in 2024.
Yes, you are.
I love everything. So first I'm going to start with, I myself am a Tampa St. Pete girl.
Oh, you are?
Yeah. I'm born and raised. I'm from Florida, from Tampa. And I moved to Texas 6 or 7 years ago, but I still have my little piece in little condo hotel at the Trade Winds on St. Pete.
Oh,
so
you
I go
do?
there all the time. Yeah, that's my home. So we'll have to connect.
I'm a Treasure Island and St. Pete Beach girl.
Oh, my mother was the Voyager. She had her timeshare at Treasure Island. We went there when we were little.
Come visit.
I go 3 times a year, 4 times a year.
Fun.
So we'll hook up. Okay, so that's a total.
I just have to come and tow.
You're coming.
Yeah, well,
with my wallet though, because I ain't looking for it, kids.
But here's I was like taking the nuggets of the things that you said, and I first, like, your angels, your friends, your good luck charm. What a story, and their legacy lives on through you, right? Which is such a beautiful, beautiful thing. Like, very tragic what happened to them both. Tragic to you that you experienced that too, but you've taken something from that and you move forward. And I think it's a lot of things like this that people have that point, right? They are either going to kind of succumb and go down, or they're going to rise with it. And you're such a testimony that you rose with it and you realized, which is a lot of what Alicia and I are trying to do here, is like, we just have this one life. Like and yes, I've been diagnosed with something and I've got a lot to deal with that and all the other things, but I just saw my 2 friends, and they don't have the opportunity anymore. And you said about after you lost your job in San Diego, and I went and I found the opportunity. And I think that's so key, is you didn't wait, you're not waiting. And so my question would be, how do you, this is such a big one, and I would love to hear your point of view. We all have big stories. So many people have big stories that help pivot them. But so many people don't, and they stay stuck. And it's trying to convince them and show them and remind them, we just have this one life. Like, how do you fire them up? How do you do that?
Well, it's interesting because the people you're referring to oftentimes are the people I work with.
I know, and I love it.
And these are people that often, it's not that they never had it, it's they lost it and they need to get it back.
Yeah.
Divorce. A man I'm working with right now is a caretaker for his wife for 13 years who passed. He went skydiving this past weekend. I can't make that up. So the way I offer this as a mirror to others is really, first of all, acknowledging that something happened and this isn't easy, but it didn't happen to you. You're not being punished. You didn't do anything wrong. All you have is this moment right here. This is where we are. And we're not here to bypass. I'm not here to say, okay, sugarcoat it, but
action.
We got to go. We got to move on. And if it is because of death, then your loved ones don't want you to be sitting here like this. They're going to help you in whatever it is you choose to do for yourself. They will be with you. I 100% swear to God, you know?
Yes.
So when it came to, I'll throw in my teeth story now. And I'll get vulnerable with your audience because why the heck not, right?
Why not? Why not? They love
I'll
it.
try with you.
For those watching this video, these teeth are, my front teeth are fake. I literally had to rebuild my smile from the inside out and put myself back out there again. Not just because I physically lost my teeth and I looked like I'd gotten beaten up, but because getting on that bike was avoidable and I knew it. And I had to make peace with myself, which is almost harder than anything. The things that happen to us that are finale like this, we have to accept and we have to make peace with and whatever. But when you are the one that did it to you,
yeah,
it is way harder.
Yeah.
So my teeth being knocked out ended up being the best thing again that ever happened, because the 4 months prior to that, I'd been in a relationship where I completely devoted myself to healing him and completely lost me. He was a widower. We met at the trailhead climbing a mountain. It was this poetry thing. And I had no idea how broken he was. And he met me at my high, right? So energy.
Yep.
Oh yeah. And I was really unhappy at my job as a travel nurse recruiter. I 100% manifested my job loss at the most perfect time. I got all my PTO paid out to me. I have a trip to Mexico. I'm in Mexico. He's calling me, come back, come back. I'm like, I can stay, actually. I don't have to be back. But I ignore me and I come back. 2 days later, and at this point, I'm a runner. I'm already a runner, and I'm more aggressively running because I'm in Colorado. He throws me a Frisbee because I go to the concert with him I don't want to go to, and I break my foot. So now I'm unemployed. I have a broken foot. It's the beginning of summer, and I don't even really want to be with him. Well, I find out I have to have foot surgery. This is where the story gets woo. I find out I have to have foot surgery. I'm terrified. I go in to have foot surgery, and while I'm laying on the pre-op table, I also find out I'm pregnant.
Oh my gosh.
This has now been 3 months. So right now my foot is broken. I'm unemployed. I'm with a man that I know I'm not meant to be with forever. And I have women saying, congratulations. And I'm saying, please just fix my foot.
Yeah.
I just need you to fix my foot.
So I can run away.
And I literally am having a nervous breakdown.
Yeah.
No, this is my body. And I'm asking you just to please fix my foot.
Yeah.
And they're like, we can't.
Because they couldn't put you under.
They couldn't put me under. And I was so early. I hadn't even missed my period. It was, I would never have found out had I not had a test. So I will skip over all the details of what I went through with him, what he and I went through and what I went through and everything, and just say it was the hardest decision I had to make, but not because I didn't know my truth, but because I was scared of how it would affect him. I was almost this close to literally sacrificing myself because I was scared to speak my truth.
Which I think is what we do.
Which is what we do.
We're so good at it.
So what happens 3 weeks and 6 days after my abortion, and I'm still healing, he's like, well, let's try and have fun, and we'll go to the football game and we'll ride our bikes. And okay, we're all existing now anyways. And I get on that bike 3 weeks and 6 days after my abortion. My foot at this point has calcified. They'd have to re-break it to actually fix it. And I'm thrown off a bike and I land on my face and I'm being ambulanced and I lose all my teeth.
Oh my gosh.
And so I looked up at the sky. I hit so hard, I scorpioned and landed on my back. And I looked up at that sky and I said, if this is how you want me to go, I am ready. However, something shifted in me and there was anger for the first time. And sometimes anger can be a good thing.
Yeah.
Yes. Because all of a sudden I was like, oh no, you're not picking out my soups I'm going to eat. I'm going to the grocery store to pick out my soups. And he's like, you really think you should do that? I'm like, I probably shouldn't have actually. But I was like, yes, I'm in control of my soup. Something so little. But it was like these things that I just started going, I'm in charge of this. I'm in charge of this. Get my power back. And so long story short, I just started not wearing my smile flipper and just going around town without my teeth in a lot and saying, oh, I didn't ask for this. This isn't my fault. It doesn't bother me. And I learned very quickly that once I accepted it and couldn't, sticks and stones can break my bones. Once I had no problem with it, there was absolutely nothing any stranger or anyone on this planet could say to offend me, to hurt me, to make fun of me, to anything, because I had accepted it. And it was the most powerful feeling ever to be like, who's more uncomfortable? I'm not, but they were, you know? So I think when we decide to do something, sometimes we have to get so fed up with ourselves.
Yes. Enough is enough.
Enough is enough.
Yeah.
And this was enough is enough. And when I lost my job and I was like, what am I going to do? I can find a job to go sit in another cubicle, or, oh my God, I can actually look at this as I was let go for a reason. Yeah. Or I can look at it as, you know, even how I live here, like I've lost houses. My car was totaled in a hit and run. I've had so many, and then I'm like, thank God my car was totaled in a hit and run because I got a bike and I started biking around town, and then I moved to Hawaii and I didn't have to worry about selling my car because it had already been totaled. Like, you just have to be open to it. And if it means hiring somebody, a therapist, a coach, somebody that cares, somebody that can hold your hand, somebody that can mirror back to you when you're stuck. I mean, it's the most priceless currency we have is this.
It's invaluable.
It's really invaluable to have somebody care.
Yeah.
And I think I can honestly say no one ever cared about me. I actually did it all. I mean, people say to me, who's your role model? Who did that? And I go, my parents think I'm crazy. Like, nobody. You know, I didn't have any friends that were like giving me their blessing on anything. They were just like, okay. And so I don't give myself enough credit, to be honest. Like, I really don't. I've done a lot, and I've taken a lot of risks. And I truly believe that God, the universe, spirit, source, whatever, your angels, like, they're waiting for us to do something so they can support us. Because when we know we're all meant for more. Mm-hmm. And there's not a single religion out there that isn't founded in suffering. I mean, suffering is a part of growth. You can't avoid it. I mean, you can avoid it, but you're not going to grow much.
No.
And it depends how wise you want to be. You don't get wise. You're not born wise. You become wise. You get wise, I think, through these. So then more ideas will come to you. I don't know if that even answers your question.
No, it does. And I think complacency is just one of those things that is just can be so sickening, especially for people that do have the aha moment, or they finally get the download and then they wake up and they go, oh God. And then they have the panic of like, so much time is gone and this is where I'm at. And then this is when we go, okay, go see Carlyn.
Well, one of the tools I use, I'll offer. Have you heard of the book, The Artist Way?
Yes, I've read it.
Okay. I use The Artist Way as a tool for some of my clients. The guy I'm working with right now, he's an engineer. His brain works a little differently, more tangible, wants assignments, so to say, wants reading things. The Artist Way changed my life in 2009. I bought strangerstofriends.com while doing The Artist Way because I had lost my confidence in myself. This was when the market crashed. So everybody was in limbo. I wasn't working. I was a nurse recruiter. And I was in between worlds of knowing there was something special about me and feeling like I didn't know how to express it and what it was. And that's when all the triggers and all the coping and everything comes up. And so I was very lost. And so I use The Artist Way with a lot of people because it's a 12-week chaptered book that actually brings you back to yourself.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes it's me working tangibly with even something. There's tools out there that people can use to.
Yeah. I think that's awesome. And I think one of the things is, I always say one of the worst words that people can say is I'm fine. We Alicia and I watched the Art of Living event, and I loved Trent said,
I've been following Trent for years.
He's amazing. Trent, shout out. But he said, and I wrote it down because it was so powerful, is the hypnotic rhythm of life. And people get stuck in that and they don't even know they're stuck. And then what you were saying, like kind of to what you were saying earlier, and then they stop giving themselves permission to want more, to dream of more, to dream of what the dreams they had when they were younger, right? And you ask them, they're like, well, you know, I'd like this, but everything is fine. Everything is fine. And I'm like, oh my God, that's the kiss of death. Like, you want to be fine, but you know, fine. You don't want that. And that's what shaking people is like, because they don't even know sometimes they need to be shaken up.
No, because the current,
the difference.
You're not going to get until you get knocked over. You're not like, oh, I'm here. I'm at the beach. What are we doing? Woo! You're like,
and then when they are, they're like, wow.
Right.
Pardon my French, but there's a big difference about,
you can drop an explicit
about not giving a fuck about your life and giving a fuck about your life.
100%. Yeah.
And the book that I'm writing, that's based on my journey, and it's this formula that I have developed, that is how you create flow and freedom, and based off of any circumstance that happens in your life.
Yeah.
And first and foremost, you got to give a fuck.
You do.
It's not about the art. I mean,
which is getting honest with yourself, right? Yeah. That's like, it's not like it's not like all these, you know, of course ours is positive radical change, but it doesn't always have to be this big makeover thing. It's just creating the awareness, like, hey, maybe I'm not as happy, or things aren't the way I really want them to be. And I'm just allowing it. I'm going with what is expected instead of maybe what's in my heart.
Well, and what you have control over.
Yeah. Yeah. And what
you have control over. And, you know, I'm blessed, in my opinion, to not be married and don't have kids. I can do whatever I choose. And that's not the case for everybody when they're handed these big, you know, life events. And so I never say, please don't ever compare yourself to me.
Right.
The journey that you're on is going to be crafted for you. But sometimes we do have to get a little selfish.
Yeah.
I worked with nurses for 10 years. And one of the things that they always got so lucky when they landed in my lap, because I was their coach. And I said, listen, you can't save a life if you ain't taking care of your own life here. So welcome to Recruiter Carlyn. We're about to make some changes, because so many of these nurses as caretakers took care of everybody but themselves. Yeah. And it was so noticeable. And so I think even as women, obviously, you know, like sometimes we know what we need to do, but we're scared. Like a woman that I worked with recently, you know, like she knew she was ready to move. She knew she was unhappy in her job. She knew all these things, but, oh, you know, I don't know if they're ready to bring somebody else on board yet. And like, what if I like don't find a job right away and I can't afford it? And then I go, okay, we all have these what ifs, you know, and it's normal.
Yeah. It's normal.
But you just gotta be.
Yeah. And it's not to downplay feelings. No. Because like you said, we all have them, but it's to say, okay, we've got to like move past that. And
well, the reason there's podcasts
are always going to be there.
The reason there are podcasts like this, the reason we're all brought together to share stories is it's universal law. Yeah. Shit happens, you shift, and better shit happens. The end.
And
that's it. We're done.
And feelings aren't fact. Right? Like, I feel stuff all day long and I'm like, oh, I'm fine.
Well, I almost didn't come on this interview today because I was like, I felt like I was in a funk today.
Right. And when I told her, and I said, well, wake up to life. We do things we don't want to do all the time. I love you. I'll see you in 8 hours.
And also just remember, even people like me that have gone through all the things and come out the other side, you know, with rainbows, I have bad days.
But you know what? I bet the difference is, this is what I think the difference is, is we come out of them so much faster.
Yeah. Now I can flip a story on its back. Like, boom. Like,
and that, I think that's where a big, like, instead of it like lingering for weeks and months and the drama has to replay, we come out and we're like, okay, that happened. Yuck. That was a yuck day. And then we're over it.
Well, it's like that happened. And okay, that wasn't the worst of it. There's always going to be more. It could be more. I survived it. Next. Like, let's do
a trick that I do to myself and I literally do this to myself.
Here we go, listeners.
I moved into my place. I moved in with my friend in Boulder, Colorado. I'd only been in the house 25 days. I hadn't even hung up my pictures yet. And she'd been there 3.5 years, and landlord gives a 30-day notice.
Oh.
I'd already sold all my stuff. I was car free. I was excited to be in Boulder. I got a bike, and I'm like this, you have to be freaking kidding me. You have to be kidding me. And I'm angry for 3 days. I'm punching and I'm angry and I'm wanting to look up laws and sue this person and all these things. And then I had to be like, her and I both had to be like, do we really want to live in a house where someone doesn't want us? That's not the energy of a landlord we want, first of all. Second of all, if we're just sitting here angry, she's winning.
Right.
Like we just got, her and I got really quiet together. And I just said, there's no way we're going to be homeless, Haley. In 3 weeks from now, it's actually somehow going to be all figured out. In 3 weeks, just guess what? In 3 weeks, this is already going to be
behind us.
Yes.
Cool
Even though we have
story.
absolutely no idea how your house is going to get packed into boxes, because this is going to take days.
Yeah.
And I have no idea where I'm going to live. Well, she ends up, did I see you out in LA on that trip? I don't know if I did. She ends up letting me borrow her car. I do a 2-week, I'm like, rather than, I think I did see you for coffee. I take a 2-week road trip out to LA and back. I even work up a small speaking opportunity for me in Colorado on my way out. Have this 2-week road trip, come back. A friend of mine from high school who I hadn't spoken to in 20 years, but I posted on Facebook, hey, y'all are never going to believe what happened. And she happened to live in Kona, Hawaii, and had moved, her and her kids had moved in with her boyfriend. So her house was empty. And she said, hey, if you just want to come figure it out, buy a one-way ticket and you can live out here. Don't worry about paying me anything. Help me out with utilities. So I lived in Hawaii, November, December, January, February 1st, 2020. So we know where the world was.
Yeah.
I lived in Hawaii. Hawaii was so big on my bucket list to live. You have no idea. Like Facebook memories constantly popping up. I'm going to live in Hawaii one day. I was always writing it, right? I lived there the last 3 months anyone could ever live there before COVID. The very last 3 months before anything.
Yeah.
Thank God I lost my house.
Yeah. Crazy.
But I just kept saying to myself, in 3 weeks, there's no way I'm going to be homeless.
Right.
It's going to all work out.
Yeah.
Okay, so for our listeners, my queen of strangers to friends and connecting the world.
Oh, yeah. And
you are really, really, and I know this from you, from our Bali trip and all of that, you are huge on synchronicity.
yes.
It's on your Instagram. It's all the things to you. So do you want to break it down?
Synchronicity stimulator.
Yeah. So I want you to break it down for our audience so we can put it in our bones and have, something tangible to work with, and how you ignite this in yourself.
Okay, we'll sum this up. First of all, synchronicity is this idea that things are coincidence, but they're not. They're meaningful coincidences, right?
Yeah.
So synchronicity is, in my opinion, there's a formula of authenticity, vulnerability, synchronicity, possibility. That's my formula. The synchronicity is the magic where when I show up for me, when I show up for myself, I invite everything else to show up for me in the form of a person, in the form of an idea, in the form of whatever. So you must be when you step into an aligned action, this is where magic happens. And sometimes I get chills again.
I love it. I'm getting chills too.
Half the time, I don't even know I'm in aligned action. The confirmation is the synchronicity going, oh, actually, thank you. You're doing what you're supposed to be doing. So I always say synchronicity became huge in my life so Strangers to Friends is my brand. Strangers to Friends is knowing our stories connect us all. In 2009, when I started living more as Carlyn, I started noticing, Mom, something weird is happening. I'm recognizing I made a card that said, Carlyn Shaw, Turning Strangers into Friends, as literally a connection card. There was no iPhones. There was no anything. I thought to PR myself because I was unemployed and I wanted to meet people, but I didn't have a business card because I was unemployed. So I made a connection card. And I just put the journey of friendship begins with two strangers on the back. And I put the URL, because I didn't have a website, to my MS 50-mile walk fundraising page, thinking maybe somebody would want to do that. And what I never imagined was people going, first of all, what is strangers to friends? I'm like, oh, well, this is it. Like, I don't know why we're meeting. I have no idea why we're meeting. When you met your best friend, did you know they were going to be your best friend? No. Like, we all meet each other every day. We have no idea where the journey's going to go, but you got to say yes to the journey for the purpose to show up. Second of all, the person would go, oh, you're donating to MS. Oh, you have a connection with MS? Like, people were asking me that all the time. Somebody's mother had it. Somebody's brother had it. I never met people with MS until I made this card. Never. Because I was never, unless I was like at an MS event. But it's not like I'm walking around sharing my story. And what I started learning was, not only do these people need me to feel seen and heard, I needed it. I had been alone in my journey this whole time. I hadn't met people my age. It just wasn't a thing, you know? And I was meeting people that I could actually be positive with too, not all negative. So strangers to friends, when I finally made it tangible, I made a meetup in San Diego, and I lived in Denver, and I made a meetup. I had like 3,000 people in my meetup. I was doing monthly events called the Stranger to Friend Experience. I'm debating whether I'm going to start this up again. But anyways,
I think you should, because
I just said, do it.
So what I said was, I was bringing exclamation together. I was bringing people together, and oftentimes people were not aware of the word synchronicity. Right. And I got to be a bridge for this idea that we're all connected. Yeah. But I had to make it light, not super heavy. I had to like get people to play with it. And so I said, I would oftentimes lead with the question, what's something unique about you we wouldn't know unless you told us?
Nancy, what's something unique about you that we wouldn't know unless you told us?
Something unique about me or happened to me, like anything like that?
That's the thing.
I was kicked out of Girl Scouts.
Okay. That's a great story. You could write that. And then that's going to open conversation, and somebody's going to find you, and they're going to be like, I hated Girl Scouts too, or whatever the story was. And now there's a bond. And now there's a synchronicity moment where you wouldn't have that common denominator had somebody not volunteered to share a little bit about themselves. Not only that, you wouldn't have the common denominator if you weren't brave enough to come to the event by yourself. Yeah. Not only that, you wouldn't have the common denominator if you hadn't even quit Girl Scouts because that was your truth. It goes deep and deep and deep and deep and deep of who we are. And so much of it, the first step was I had women cry sometimes coming to my events because they're like, I've been getting your invites for a year. I'm like, well, you're finally here. It's great.
Yeah. You're finally here. Yay.
Yeah. So showing up. Synchronicity starts with, it really happens. Like, it's a reward. It's a reward. It doesn't just, it'll happen to you occasionally because God's going, okay, work with me here. Trust me. This isn't just I'm giving this to you. I want you to believe.
So it's showing up for yourself is the equals synchronicity. Like when you really are in your groove.
Well, because you're in a higher vibration. Mm-hmm. You're in a higher vibration and you're present. Yeah. Very often you're present.
Right. And that's the takeaway right there. Right?
And, but also like not to go down the rabbit hole, like my friends I have a lot of friends on the other side now. I have an entourage, and I get signs from them, and I've been seeing number patterns since like 2007 before I've been seeing number patterns now. So synchronicity shows up even in these things, songs on the radio, something you have a personal relationship with that you need to hear. But I always say, like, you can walk around the world with your blinders on or with your blinders off. Yeah. And synchronicity, you got to be aware. I read an article in Oprah's magazine years ago, and to talk about luck and if people are lucky, because I never say I'm lucky. None of us say, we know better than to say we're lucky, you know? Yeah. But some people think, oh, she's lucky. So she sent 2 people out. They planted $20 bills in the exact same places and sent somebody that thought they were lucky out and somebody that didn't think they were lucky out. And the lucky people found the money and the unlucky people didn't. They planted someone in the coffee shop with $1 million idea looking for a business partner. The unlucky person never spoke to him. The lucky person did. The only difference was this person believes it's possible.
And the energy, right?
And
The
the
energy that they give it. Right. It's amazing. Yeah. So before we let you go and we take up your entire evening here.
I could just talk a lot.
Oh, we're going to have you back on because I can guarantee you that everybody's going to say we have 10,000 more questions for Carlyn. And I'll say, but she's starting her own podcast per our conversation.
Yes, I'm gonna start my own podcast.
Lighting her butt and getting her to go. Okay, so I don't want you to leave here without explaining your adorable t-shirt for the people that cannot see it, but we will post a photo on our Instagrams and also on our Facebook community page.
Awesome.
But Carlyn is wearing a wonderful shirt that says, if you'd like to stand up so we can see it above your name, whoever smiles first wins.
So whoever smiles first wins. How do I sum this up? First of all, there's 3 meanings behind the shirt. And for those that can't see, I've got tank tops, I've got baseball style tees, I've got t-shirts, I even have baby onesies. So a baby is always winning, just saying. But these shirts, I actually bought this as a shirt in 2012 from somebody else, and I experienced the magic from it. I recognized I was shifting energy. I recognized I had the choice to show up with my smile. I owned the shirt when I lost my teeth. I wore the t-shirt. Fast forward, that woman who I ended up befriending stopped making the shirts. And in 2020, I was like, not to do with the masks. It actually didn't have to do with the masks. I wanted people to recognize they had the power to smile. So the parts of it are, obviously, our smiles connect us all, and our energy connects us all. And hopefully your mama taught you that, and it doesn't need to be behind a shirt. But it's the stories that make us smile that connect us all. And in 2020, everybody was thrown into a story, and everybody had this choice to smile or not. And a lot of people had to go through a lot to be able to smile on the other side. So the third part of the equation is, so when you've chosen to smile for yourself, you've already won. And now you have a genuine smile you're going out into the world with to connect with somebody else, because the whole point is not fake smiles. We want real smiles. And what's really fun about this is it really creates human connection. And that's the whole point. Is I love a good mantra. Be kind, love life. It's not like I run up to somebody and go, I'm kind too. So great. I'm so happy you're kind. We can be besties because we're both kind. I'm just not to knock the kindness. But people approach me, oh my God, I love your shirt. And people smile. And a lot of times people go, I win, or they ask me where I got it. Like, it actually creates human engagement. And that's the whole point. So my mission with these is to show that our smiles actually connect us all. And I'm not advertising these massively right now. I'm having people that want to wear them. And then people ask, where'd you get it? And I'm hoping that this smiles actually spread. And so I was sharing with Alicia, I have a bigger vision of this being tied into a like buy a smile, wear a smile, share a smile, and having like a nonprofit element to it. But right now, I'm just asking people, show others you're approachable.
Yeah.
Make yourself friendly. Because if I have a question I need to ask, I'm going to the guy wearing the smile shirt.
For sure.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. I'm like getting
you're approachable.
It makes you. So my dad and his now wife were in Buenos Aires the day after Argentina won the World Cup. That was pure synchronicity, coincidence. They did not plan to be there. They happened to be there. The whole city is a parade and they need an Uber.
Yeah.
Because they just got off an airplane. There's like a standstill. Some guy from New York comes up to them. They were both wearing a Smiles First Win shirt. In fact, they were wearing the exact same shirt. They were twinning on their flight. They're so crazy. Anyways, a guy from New York comes up to him and goes, hey, if I find a taxi or Uber, you want to share it with me? And they were like, yeah. They're like, why'd you pick us? He's like, well, you're wearing shirts that I speak English and you guys seem like friendly people. So they have this whole story of they got an Uber in Buenos Aires because they were wearing smile shirts.
So Dad's got the synchronicity download too.
Well, these can be synchronicity starters.
They sparkle in synchronicity.
Yes.
My shirt doesn't necessarily get the same, but
What shirt? Your
happy hour with
well,
my
but
doorbell.
it's gonna still speak to the right people. But you know,
It's okay. I didn't make it.
we gotta spread joy. Everything's about joy.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
It is about joy.
Yes. So we'll wrap. Definitely have to have you back. But where can people follow you, find you,
support you, align with you, be guided by you?
So my website with like all the links to link to everything is Connect with Carlyn, and my name is spelled Carlyn.
Yeah.
It's like Carolyn but no O. So my Instagram handle is Connect with Carlyn. I also have Strangers to Friends as a site and an Instagram handle. You can purchase the shirts through either Strangers to Friends and I'm not trying to overcomplicate this, but I'm building a new website. So right now, Smiles First Wins is a site, but you can also find that through Strangers to Friends. And so I would love, anyone can say hi to me. I mean, on Facebook, I'm Carlyn Shaw. Just look up my name. There is another.
If they need to find you, they can.
There is one other Carlyn Shaw.
I can connect you guys to Carlyn.
Yeah, we're on Instagram. We're all on the thing.
I'll put you on Facebook too.
We're all on the things.
I can find you now too.
We met in Bali, for those that don't know.
Yeah,
so
we met in Bali.
So we can connect.
Yeah, and if anyone's in St. Pete, just hit me up. You know.
Well, we're gonna meet this year in person. I'm excited about it for sure. And thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for sharing your journey. Thank you for sharing with our listeners, how they can start creating those opportunities, create the opportunities and do the things and wake up, right? Wake up and smile.
Wake up and smile. And ladies, thank you for being part of my shift today. Because I told you I was in a little bit of a funky funk earlier, and I was debating whether it made sense to bring my energy into the show today with that. And I had to go. I texted Alicia a picture of me on my scooter. I know I just got to hop on my motorbike, and it automatically shifts my energy and a good shower. And now the energy I feel from this, I want to go for a run or something.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, right? The movement and the change. And I always say, I was telling Nancy, and I've said it before, you always change the pattern. So the second you're not feeling it is when you do it. So you take the shower, you go for the run, you get on the bike, you get outside.
It's so true.
Worse on the body than feeling like you're trapped inside. And so just to get out and feel expansive, like we are meant to be in nature. We are meant to be outside of a home. And so when you sent me that picture, I was like, I bet you it was just a matter of time. And then 3 minutes.
Well, the reason I was in a funk is
I talk about it. I was like, Carlyn, she's
like, I've been home all morning, and sometimes being home all morning, it's
break your soul. So
it's not me.
It's not me either. It drives me nuts. I'm like, I got to go out. I can't take it.
No, so I'm going to help everybody connect to Carlyn. Thank you so much for your time.
This was so much fun.
Your insight, your stories. You are such a dynamite, a tour de force. I cannot wait to read the book. And I just adore you.
I'll give your readers a little hint. Your listeners. The book is called Plan F, because there ain't no such thing as Plan A.
And on that note, can't wait to read it. Boom.
Woo.
Bye, team.
Bye. Thank you.